unfolding incident in Elbert County is putting another spotlight on the hidden dangers of backovers. I mean, every week more than 100 children in the U.S. are killed or injured in similar accidents. And here's the thing, guys, it's preventable. And so today joining us is Amber Rollins, the Director of Kids and Car Safety, to teach us how. Amber, first of all, I'm really sorry that the circumstances in which we are meeting each other is such a tragic one. But how common are these accidents, and why do you think they keep happening?
Well, every week in our country, about 50 children are backed over because the driver couldn't see them. And another 60 children on top of that every week are run over in what we call frontovers, which is just the opposite of a backover, really. It's a slow moving vehicle that went from park to drive and ran over a child. This happens because people are really unaware that there's a blind zone that exists in front and behind their vehicle where a small child literally can't be seen. And that rear blind zone can be up to 50 feet.
Now, we say these kinds of incidents are predictable and preventable. What do you think are some of the biggest things that parents and caregivers can do now to prevent this from happening to them in the future?
Well, there's two different kinds of scenarios that we see most commonly, so it's important to be aware of those danger zones. The first one is in the driveway of your home. The overwhelming majority of these cases happen when a child, very young, usually about 18 months to 4 or 5 years old, sneaks out of the house. Someone's either arriving home or they're leaving, and the person inside doesn't realize that they have left the building until it's too late. And the person in the driveway is not able to see them because they're in the blind zone and they just don't know they're there. You can't avoid hitting what you can't see. So, just extra caution during any time you know somebody's leaving or coming in your home. The other common scenario is in a parking lot when a parked vehicle begins to move and that driver cannot see that child. We've also got situations where a child darts out into the path of an already moving vehicle and they don't have time to stop.
So now you gave us a couple of the different scenarios, and let's really break them down. Sometimes it is a random person in a parking lot who just doesn't see the child behind them, but I understand that many times the child knows the driver from the incident, which obviously adds a much more painful layer to all of this. What do you want families to take away from that fact?
You're right. Most of the time, it's a parent or a loved one of the child who is behind the wheel. And the trauma and just devastation is exponential. I mean, you can only imagine. This is like every parent's worst nightmare. So, this is also one of those things where people really don't think this is going to happen to them until it does. People tend to think about these cases as like freak accidents, but they're really not. I mean, over 100 children every week in our country, that's a very large number. So, taking this danger seriously is probably the number one thing that parents need to know, and, being aware that those blind zones exist.
All right, you said it best. Let's talk about it. You usually don't think that this is going to happen to you until it's too late. It did happen. Since, about 2018, all the newer vehicles come with backup cameras or that front camera. Sometimes you even got the side view. And people think that that's really all it takes. Now you've got the camera, you're ready and set to go. But what do drivers still need to understand, even if their car does come with those newer features?
Well, we have seen cases where children have been backed over in vehicles that do have a backup camera. So they're not 100%. You do have to be looking at that backup camera at the right moment. So, really important for people to understand it's not a 100% solution. What we are working towards is automatic emergency braking in all cars that can detect a child in that danger zone and stop the vehicle without any human intervention. That's really what's needed. But in the meantime, it helps to be able to see. So you can add a backup camera to any vehicle if you don't currently have one. They've gotten much more affordable since 2018 when they started coming as standard equipment in all vehicles. And Kids and Car Safety worked for 16 years to make that happen. And we worked very closely with families who've lost their children. And we're just really happy that that is a reality now. You can't purchase a vehicle without one. And that's the way it should be, because all children deserve to be safe. But if you don't have one, please add one to your vehicle. And you can also add them in the front as well. Most people don't know that. If you're considering a new vehicle, look for that 360 or that bird's eye view camera system, because that is really important. You can't see on the side either. And so even if you have a front and rear camera, it may not be enough.
All right, thank you for sharing that. I actually didn't know that that's something that you can add on after you've bought your car. I wonder if there are some people streaming out there with us who didn't know that either. And also, for the sake of y'all streaming with us, we know that nobody's perfect. These things happen. Kids are really fast. I've got two really young nephews of myself, and I know that you can turn away for 1 second and then they're off in the other room, and maybe even sometimes out the door. You just have to be really careful. But like you said, there are things that we can do, not just to our cars, but I understand there are also some things we can do to our homes, like child-proofing doors.
Yes, the first line of defense starts inside the home. So you want to get those doorknob covers that, little children can't open the door, and layer that with, also they have stick-on door alarms you can buy. Just search up stick-on door alarms and you can find them. They're about $20 to $30. They'll cover most of the doors that lead to the outside of your home. Make sure all of the doors that are going to the outside of your home are taken care of. Children are fast. And I'll tell you what, one of the number one things that I hear from parents when we talk to them after a tragedy is just those exact words. I can't even describe to you, it happened so fast. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know they were outside, and then it was over. The driveway's typically very close to the door that they leave, and you don't think they're gonna go outside, so you check around the house first, and then by the time you realize that door's open, it's too late. So keeping a scenario where children cannot access the outside by themselves is so important. We also want parents and families to create habits that will ensure direct supervision. And when I say direct supervision, I mean hands-on those kids anytime somebody's expected to be arriving or leaving the home. There's this phenomenon that we've actually come up with a name for. It's called bye-bye syndrome. And what happens is this toddler, usually 18 months to about 2 to 3 years old, doesn't want mommy or daddy to go bye-bye.
No.
They don't like it when they leave.
Yeah.
And so they want to go with them, or they want to go out and wave bye-bye to them, and they don't understand danger. Children that age, they don't have the cognitive ability to understand danger, and they tend to think, if I can see the driver, they can see me. And so while we put all these safety precautions into place, we also want parents to be talking to their children about these dangers early and often. So it's not enough to say it once. All of us parents know you got to repeat yourself 1,000 times before they really hear you. So start before they can even walk on their own. Talk to them about how vehicles are big, they are small, and the driver can't see them. And you can make it kind of a game too, like when you're going through the parking lot, talk to them about how can you tell if a car's about to move. We can see clues, like the brake lights show up. And if we see someone in the driver's seat, that means that car might start moving. And if we see smoke coming from the exhaust pipe, we can also listen with our ears. And there's just lots of ways to know if a car is going to start moving. But we never walk behind or in front of one because we know they can't see us.
You know what? I love how you broke that down, because I just think about one of my nephews in particular. He is fascinated with cars, fascinated with all types of vehicles. And while telling him, okay, you have to hold my hand, you have to look both ways. He's only 2, 3. He doesn't necessarily care about that. But if I were able to break down the details about a car, I think that would stick with him a lot longer. So thank you for that piece. Now, the fact that the newer vehicles do come with backup cameras comes from a lot of lobbying, years worth of lobbying. A lot of this is stuff that Kids and Car Safety has participated in. I was just wondering, is there any legislation or public policy that y'all are currently part of and working to push this issue forward?
Yeah, so for the last couple of sessions, we have introduced, we haven't, but Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut has introduced a bill called the Stop Frontovers Act. This bill is similar to what was passed that ended up requiring backup cameras in all cars. You have to be able to know if there's a child or another person in front of your vehicle. You know, if we told people that they were driving vehicles that they couldn't see 15 or more feet in front of, they would say, you're crazy. But that's the reality. We are driving cars that we cannot see in front of, and that's extremely dangerous. So we really, you know, as we're moving towards these bigger, you know, bulkier vehicles, 80% of new cars sold in our country are big trucks and SUV. We're not keeping up with the technology that's needed to safeguard people. And so it's very important, as these vehicles become more and more trendy, that we are protecting people outside the vehicle from these giant boxy vehicles that could literally kill them. It's a no-brainer, right? Like, you should be able to see what's in front of you. And we really can take it a step further by preventing that car from coming into contact with a person or object using automatic emergency braking.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to keep an eye out for where Senator Blumenthal takes that. And for the rest of these tips that you have given us, some of the suggestions, they have been extremely helpful. So thank you, Amber. Now, we'll have an article with all of these safety tips in the Fox Local app and on fox5atlanta.com. And of course, you can find more resources on kidsandcar.org. Let's take a quick break.